All right. Well, so we're getting ready to get started here in just a minute, but I do want to say thank you guys and appreciate you joining us on our new group hangout video system here, Microsoft Teams. It's something we've had all along apparently, and I never knew about it. So definitely going to save us some money than having to have 2 subscriptions. So appreciate you trying this out with us. And just quick feedback, any issues getting in, any issues logging in or anything like that?
No.
Sweet.
My work uses it, so I'm actually on my work account.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. I saw they had some fun new features that they're going to be rolling out pretty soon, where you can have everybody collectively sitting at the same table and stuff like that. It's with your little avatars and things. That look cute. There we go. Let's see if we can do it. Yeah. See, look, we're hanging out.
Is it different?
Oh, it is on my screen. I'm sorry. We're all sitting in chairs together. We're cut out.
Oh, really?
I enjoy it.
How do you do that?
I was just going to ask.
Mode. So if you go to more settings instead of gallery, go to together mode.
Together
mode.
Preview.
Yeah.
I don't have that.
So we're together, virtually together. Anyway, whatever. All right, let's go ahead and get started.
Maybe that's for the host. It must be a host thing. Yeah. Oh, well.
I just have pool access. I guess that's what that means. I'm the beta tester. I don't know. But anyway, first of all, just welcome to your next Conversations with Your Lab. This is the September edition, and we did it a week late. Labor Day kind of messed us up, so that's okay. But that's because we're all busy, and that's a good thing. So today, we've got lots to talk about. There's no way we're going to be able to get to everything, and that's okay. But we do want to have an open conversation and be here to answer some questions with you guys. But first, let's just talk about this meeting really is designed to just kind of help us stay connected with the not normal, with the new weird that's going on, and see what is actually happening. Not just getting our news from Facebook. I don't know about you guys, but Facebook's getting a little, I guess, pre-political crazy in addition to the rest of the crazy going on in the world. So it's nice to actually just talk face to face and hear what's happening in your world from you, because that's where we're going to get our great information that's accurate and relevant to what we are all doing. And I really, really appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys being here and engaging with us. So we can collectively grow stronger together. So lots to talk about today. We're going to talk about what you're hearing from schools that have opened up, how you're staying engaged with schools that have been putting off Picture Day. We're going to talk about, I know one of the questions that Gidget popped up with is, how are we photographing the students that have opted to go virtually? That's a great conversation to have. We also want to talk about how to maximize sales when you are getting that opportunity to sell. And if we still have time, miraculously, we're also going to talk about how to cut your workflow time in half. So we may change some of that. We may jump ahead. We may skip something, and that's okay. But we just want to spend this next 45 minutes connecting with you guys and understanding what's important and how we can be here to help you all. But before we get to that, I do like to do a quick update from the lab. So David, how is Spain, or Italy? Excuse me. How is Italy?
Well, it's great here, you know. Oh, don't mind anything down here. That's it.
Right.
It's I know I need to tilt this up, but then I'm too low in the frame, you know. So the lab is doing great. We're running 2 to 4 days, depending on the type of order that's coming through. We have our seasonal staff hired and trained. They're working in production now. We'll have some more people coming back who are repeat seasonal folks that have been here previous years that'll be rolling in as we need them over the next few weeks. But we're seeing the volume increase. Thank you. And I think we're all praying for that volume this fall, right? But I tend to think from what I'm hearing that we're going to see some waves. There's the initial push where everyone was trying to get their first picture day done. And then you'll kind of finish all the schools that are in person that you can photograph. And then there'll be another wave of picture days that'll be happening along with makeup days. And then, of course, working in there, all the virtual kids that we'll talk about later. But I got to tell you, I'm really super proud of you guys. We continue to hear innovative ways of the independent who's figuring out how to have picture day and leverage the relationships, or the school says, hey, in some cases, we don't want to do picture day until later this fall. And you say, look, let's get creative. Let's figure this out. And they're figuring out drive-through picture days. They're all the different options. You guys are doing your thing. And this summer, when we were talking about fall planning, I said, look, if anybody's going to figure this out, it's going to be the independent business. And you guys are doing that. So this will be good to share some ideas today. But from a getting back to the lab standpoint, customer service is fully engaged and ready for you guys and ready for questions. Interestingly enough, this Thursday and Friday this last week, customer service was busy, probably busier than we've seen any day this year. So we definitely are seeing the uptick in the calls for questions and order status and stuff like that. The one thing I would say, with all the exceptions that are going on, if you are looking down the road and you see something you need a little bit quicker turn time on, or you need some special handling, if you can give us a heads up as soon as you know that, at least get it on our calendar. That helps us, because as you are doing also, I'm sure you're making staffing decisions and you're kind of preparing as far ahead as you can. We know that that's going to change. You're going to say, we're doing a shoot in 2 weeks and we need quick turn on ID cards or something like that. And that date's going to move. We know that. It's okay. But as soon as you know something, if you need some special handling, you need something special from us, just talk to us. Let's get it on the calendar so we can follow up with you on that and get you taken care of. So, and then, of course, we continue all of our development around HH Schools, HH Image Host. All those guys are working their hearts out. We're really doing a lot. We're listening really closely. One of the things that we did is we rolled out the QR code match in August. If you don't know about that, we can get you more information. But then we're working right now on, Jeff just took a call this morning, and we're going to be adding another way of importing additional data that we've kicked around for a little while. But now we're seeing, particularly in private schools, that the kids keep shifting from virtual public school to in-person private school. And so they're seeing their enrollments grow 30-40% over the last 60 days. And so being able to add additional data in a simple way, simpler than you can do it today, is something that we'll pivot on. We actually are writing up the specs today, so stay tuned as we add some more capabilities there to help you guys if you need to add a lot of more data. So just a couple of things there. Sean, you got anything else? And I guess, do you guys have any questions for me?
Yeah, let's start with questions for David at this point. Go ahead and unmute yourself if you have a question.
Okay, very good. Well, let us know as they come.
Sorry.
Up. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to throw in just to get a feel for it. What's capacity looking like? Because I'm sure this is very spread out. So what's turnaround looking like this time of year? Do you see that building in the next? I'm sure you do in the next 3 to 5 weeks. But just to get a feel.
I'm going to say yes and no. I see it building. Our capacity looks good. We have the blessing of a number of years ago. I want to say it was maybe 4 years ago. We started engaging a different pool of repeat seasonal employees that comes back every year, and they are immensely flexible and really good at what they do. So we have a really good backup pool, as well as the people that we bring on full time. I expected to be buried by now because of how many people were saying, I'm going to have picture day as quick as I can at the beginning of September, because I don't know when an outbreak's going to happen. But I think there's been enough schools that have gone virtual. It's counterbalanced that. So we aren't buried. We're busy, but we're not buried. And so what exactly is that going to happen? We have no idea, of course. But right now, there's nothing we're hearing from how the fall schedule is going to run and how you guys are operating and what you're going to need us for, we're not seeing any gotchas. We feel like with our existing base staff and the repeat seasonal folks that we can scale for whatever you guys need. So far, so good. And also OES is way ahead of last year's schedule as well. So they're we amped up staffing this year quite a bit and for order entry services. So you guys would have more options and more responsiveness, and that's going well so far.
Good. Awesome. So you flattened the curve. No.
Well, I think we can respond to the curve. I wish we had the power to flatten it, but I think the curve has been flattened in many ways.
Nice. Good question, Brent. Good question. Anybody else have any questions at this point about production or capacity or anything like that? I guess not. Well, I guess that's a compliment in itself. But anyway, if you have more questions, obviously you know how to get a hold of us. But we're glad that you're here. So let's go ahead and get started. I do have a couple of quick announcements before we get into the conversation. Just wanted to give you some updates. If you've not been checking your emails or Facebook in the past few weeks, I understand. And so I just want to show a couple quick announcements about what we've been doing. First and foremost is we lowered the order minimum. So for reorders, that minimum that used to be $10 or $7 if you followed a bunch of rules. And so we've now changed that so that the minimum is now $5.50. And that includes the mail to home fee if you're doing those mail to home options. So mail to home minus $5.50, you're getting down to about $2.05. So we're getting a lot closer to that price of a unit almost, if you will. If you think of $1.54 for a memory maid that you have to reorder for some reason, that minimum order fee has really been cut significantly on that. And then, David, I think I read this right, but as of today, we've now changed the rules on our binning. Is that right?
Yes, and let me finish out one more part on the reorder rules. We got rid of a bunch of, there was like, if the previous order was over $200 within the last 90 days and all that, and we couldn't remember the darn rules on it. So we just got rid of all the rules. So click the reorder box. If you've reordered something from that project in the last year, you get the $5.50 price. So for the minimum order chart. So hopefully that'll help you guys, especially with some of this craziness this fall. But then what was the other thing you asked about, Sean?
The binning.
Yes.
Small order binning.
So we have had a capability for a number of years called binning. And we've done that for larger accounts that are ordering many orders in a day. And what we've found is that, those days where you order an admin CD and a 1/8x10 reorder and one button and 3 different orders, and you get 3 different boxes and you want to wring our necks. Well, the larger accounts that have big accounts that are getting lots of orders, we actually had a capability called binning where system was smart enough where an order would come down that was less than 5 pounds, and it would look in the rest of the system and say, are there any other orders in the plant that might be shipped with this? And if there was, we would assign a bin to it, a physical space over in the shipping department, and we'd accumulate it throughout the day. And then at 4:30, we would cut it off and say, okay, let's take everything out of the bins, put them in one box and ship them. And we've been making a lot of changes to shipping. And a lot of the larger boxes are actually being shipped from the production cells. So literally from the point that the orders are being packaged to where they're being boxed, our assemblers literally turn around and put a label on the box. So they're not routing it to the shipping department. That's opened up more space in the shipping department for us to be able to add more bins and more capabilities. So we just opened up binning across all school and sports orders now across the entire system. So that means if you have a couple small orders that are shipping the same day on the same service, those will go in the same box now. So that should save you some money on shipping. We're trying to knock down a bunch of those little things that have just been out there for a while to help this fall. So that is in place today. And then there'll be another software update later, but that's under the hood behind the scenes.
Yeah. So what are we doing with all this? Why are we lowering the minimum cost and binning all this? It's because we want less money. That's really what it comes down to. No, what it's about is we actually, with our larger customers, we got together and said, how can we help you and help other customers of H&H be more effective? And the biggest thing that came up is you guys have great systems, you've got great shipping services, great support, great, 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 great. But all those reorders, no matter whose fault it is, if it's my fault or it's a late order or whatever it is, when that comes in, that's just a time suck and a money suck. How can we be more effective at that? And so that's where we set to it, where we said, okay, we can with our updated capabilities, we still make good business by lowering the order minimums on those reorders and by grouping those small orders together to reduce the number of shipments. We're able to save time and money for all of us by managing that way. So
yeah, and I'll tell you, and a lot of the reason why we're able to do that is, you may or may not know this, but our production managers do a process called Kaizen. It's a process improvement procedure where you spend about a week and you focus on a particular area. And they are doing many Kaizens a year to improve the process. And what that's done is that's opened up where before it was painful to do a $10 minimum order in the school and sports division. So then when we improve the process a bit, we're like, okay, yes, we can go down to 7. Well, then this 550 is another step where they just continue to improve the processes. And if you ever walk through on a tour, you can remind me about this and I'll show you how we did it before if you're interested, and then how we do it now. And it's just trying to work smarter and less transportation, less multiple handling, all of those things. But it just takes time to chip away at those things. So it's really kudos to the production managers for how hard they're just relentless at continuing to improve the processes. And then of course having the software guys that can write the code to help us do those parts to help automate as well. It just all works together. So it's fun to be able to do because if we just had to decrease margins, we probably would, but we wouldn't like it as much. It wouldn't be as happy. Being able to do it and be able to, for you guys to win and us to win also, I think it's pretty motivating. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thanks. Hey, Joel, it looks like you've got a question. What's going on, man? Go ahead and unmute yourself. Maybe not. All right, we'll come back to Joel. So yeah, well, that was the first announcement. Let's see if we can go through these others a little faster here. Also, just wanted to let you know that we've released several new products and updated some of our existing template series. Some of the quick highlights are we added a metal keychain and bag tag. We added another option on the Apex Pro Memory Mate to allow for a taller team in that opening. And a bunch of other things that are just kind of escaping me at this point, but those are the 3 big ones that I want to make sure you're aware of. We also updated shoot lists so that those are a more effective tool for running your contactless picture day. It was one of those things that we talked about a lot this summer. And then from some feedback from these kinds of conversations, we actually rolled out a new way to data match using a QR card system. And so if you want to learn more about that, that's something that you can, we've got some videos that you can see about that, or give us a call. We'd be happy to talk with you about how to use these QR card camera cards to do your data match to your images and your data in HH schools. And it's saving you lots and lots of time.
Yep.
What's up?
Yeah, it worked really well when I did it with volleyball.
Volleyball?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Coach loved it.
Good. That's what I want to hear. What else do we do? We also, I don't know if you know this, but we've had for many years a way to do a general purpose export out of HH schools, where if you're using some of the more popular admin export programs, or you're needing to print ID cards at the studio or something, that you can run this. But the specifications were kind of pretty locked down on what it could and couldn't do. We still have that. We still have lots of folks using that, but we also had a big request for studios that wanted more. They needed a slightly larger image for their admin program, or they needed to format the images and data in a different way for their ID card printing software. So we've added another export service out of HH schools called Custom Export. And you can get this the same way you can get the general purpose export. If you're not sure how to do that, give us a call. But that's another tool that we put in your tool belt this fall so that you can be more engaging and responsive to deliver exports and images and data formatted how the school needs very, very quickly. What else? Oh yeah, we also added, what's up, Brent?
Just since you were talking about exports, and I don't want to derail everything, but I just had a quick question. I know there's a program where we sign up, we can get additional exports, or it's a lower fee for exporting data, because I realize with several of our schools, we're going to be doing a lot more exports of smaller amounts of data because of the fluctuation in students.
Oh.
So if you could remind me the name of that, or how we sign up for that, or what the best way to deal with that is.
Yeah. So let's unpack that here. Let's just take 2 minutes and unpack that real quick. So there's 3 ways you can get data exported and formatted for your admin programs. The first and probably the oldest is you can order that from us, and we can send that to you either on a disk or through a file share server. That's been around there, and that's I think it's $25 per export, and we do tons of those. But we also realize that, like you said, you're having to do more exports of smaller groups of students and get those back to the schools much, much faster. And that's where these other 2 export options are going to come in a little more handy. So if you are okay delivering images that have not been color corrected by us and have not been retouched or knocked out, so the images that you load into HH Schools, you can have those exported out and formatted to deliver to the schools. And there's 2 tools that allow you to do that. The first one, the predecessor, is the general purpose export. And so we've got some specs on our website that show you the 10 most popular export programs out there that we ran at the time that I think are still the most popular, that it will format the images and data so that they can run inside those programs. If you need something a little more expanded, something with a little bit more flexibility to do that, that's where the custom export feature license comes into play. And so that allows you to get images instead of a 320 by 400, you can now do a 640 by 800 image. And you're going to have some more flexibility on how the data in that CSV file, in that Excel file, is formatted for whenever you deliver that to the school. So those are both things that you can purchase through the website, hhcolorlab.com. I'll post a link in the chat so that you can see that, and I'll post it in the comments if you're watching this video after it's been recorded. So let me do that here real quick. David, anything that you want to add while I grab that link?
I just posted the link there.
Oh, thank you. You beat me to it.
Yep. Yeah, I would say the rule of thumb, and also remember we can do web delivery of exports as well as the CD. Sean, there was some math that we did on the number of exports people might do that would cost justify switching over to the custom export license. Do you remember that number of exports? Why don't you run the math on that while I talk about the other thing? If you're doing any knockout programs, you will still want to order them from us, because remember, the general purpose export and the custom export builder just works from the images that are on your computer. So they won't have access to the knocked out images. So you'll still want to order the exports from us if you want access to those PNGs applied to a background, or you want the PNGs back. You can order those. And most people, honestly, are switching to web delivery at this point. And if you have any questions about data privacy, we are using Citrix for that. That is a secure delivery, and people have to set up accounts and all those sorts of things before they can access to those images and data. So that is it's been a very solid platform. We've been very happy with how that's worked.
Yeah, so if you're doing, I would say if you're doing 10 or more admin CDs where the general purpose export is not a good fit for you, then this custom export feature would be a better option for you.
Than buying export for each individual one from us.
Right. If you're doing less than 10, then it would probably be better just to stick with ordering those through that service item order screen. Brent, looks like you got another question. Nope. All right. See if I can lower your hand. Anyway, So those are some features as well. And then the other thing that we've been working on that I'm actually really excited and proud about is we've added an automated marketing funnel for prepay, proof, and second sale events to HH Image Host. And those last two are actually just got added this morning, which is what I'm really excited to announce. So over the past month, you've been able to email and text market to your prospects, your leads, and your buyers all differently to your prepay events for the past month. And we're seeing fantastic engagement rates and conversion rates with that. But now, as of this morning, you're going to be able to do the same thing with your proofing events and with your second sale events. So if you log in now and you create an event after today, any of those events that you've created are going to be able to start using that right away. But then if you've created the event prior to today, we didn't want to turn that on right away. We want to give you a couple days to read through those options. So you'll see those get turned on Wednesday. We'll start turning those on for you. But excellent.
And the conversation has changed quite a bit. We're hearing from folks on getting email address and phone number from the schools. In the past, I think we would go, hey, pretty please, could you, if you think about it, if it's not too much trouble, do you think we might be able to have some data? And now it's like, dude, you're too busy to mess with this stuff. School picture day could change 3 times. Just let me handle it. Send me the email addresses and cell phones. We'll only use it for marketing picture day this fall. We won't use it for anything else. You have our word, but we'll just take care of it. And then for you, what you need to know is the most important thing about these campaigns to work successfully is that if you have a picture day change of date, just log into HH Image Host and change the event date for that event. Then all the marketing will change automatically. Here's the benefit. So for as many emails and cell phone numbers as you can get, you upload them into HH Image Host, into an event. You can customize the campaigns. You can customize the prepay, you can customize the proof plan, you can customize the second sale separately if you wish. We put in some messages that we thought would work very well. And Sean has done a lot of really nice work around that to make them effective. But you can customize them if you wish. But once that data is uploaded, let's say that your picture day is this Thursday. Then the system is going to communicate to parents via text and email that picture day is coming and give all those appropriate messages for the type of event that you're using. But then let's say picture day moves to next Tuesday. Well, then you go in and you change the date for picture day being next Tuesday now. Well, the system automatically knows the next round that goes around is going to update based on the context of picture day now being Tuesday, not Thursday. And so it just does that automatically. You don't have to do anything other than change the date. So it's a super, with all the things you have going on and that the schools have going on, our hope is that this really takes a lot of pressure off of you for communicating with your families.
Absolutely.
So I got one thing for that as well. That may work good for the like the schools and stuff that have all that information. I know down here, dealing with the coaches for sports and stuff, they're doing like they're setting up their teams like the day before we're shooting, which is like 3 days before their first game and stuff. So I'm not getting anything. I'm having to rely on the kids to write down parents' email addresses, and half of those are wrong. Give me cell phone numbers and they're missing digits, and so
it's real. It's real.
Oh man, it's frustrating.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You know, I think all of us are doing the best we can with what data we can get and how we can connect with parents. But it's not perfect, is it? But at least for that communication, that the emails and the phone numbers you can get, you know that you have a place to put them and do something with them. So that's our hope with all of this.
And the other thing is with this tool, if you aren't able to get that information ahead of time and preload that in the system, you can still benefit from this system. So we're still in contact capture mode when they log into the event. So if they grab a flyer and they scan the QR code off your flyer, or they type in the URL and they go to the event, and that's the first engagement they have with your HH Image Host site. When they log in with their email address, we're capturing at that point, and we're automatically starting to follow up with them if they don't complete that transaction. And even if they do, we still want to send them reminders of when picture day is, as well as if for some reason when they're checking out, if they're using a different email or phone number that they used to log in with, we know that that one's going to be a more accurate email to contact them with. So we're going to use that one as a contact point as well. So even if you can't get the prospect contact list, don't feel like that you're not getting the benefit of the system, because you're still getting that abandoned cart follow-up and buyer retention options with this campaign system. Gidget, what's up?
Where do you submit that information? Is it in the match the data for the student? Like, so when I get information from the school, it's the name, address, phone number, or all that information, their homeroom. Sometimes they could probably input the email and phone numbers. Is it the matching data or no?
It's a great question.
I don't pre-order yet. I don't do any of that, and I'm looking into doing it, starting. So that's
Got it. So that's a great question, because the answer is going to change depending on how we're selling. Are we pre-selling or are we proof selling? So if we're proof selling, yeah, having that with that match data is a great way to do that. That whenever we're getting the information, we can preload that in the system and start sending those contacts out to those folks. More often, the experience we've had so far has been with prepay, and you actually will upload that directly to the event in HH Image Host. So you'll upload a CSV Excel file with a column for email address and a column for cell phone number. And that's how we'll start engaging them that way. Good question.
And you upload that into the event that they belong to.
Yes. I thought that's what I said. If I missed that, thanks for correcting me. Yeah, so that's directly into the event. And then with the proofing and the second sale, it's part of the auto post functionality. So as those images are getting auto posted from HH schools or HH sports to HH Image Host, if their email and phone number is tied to that in those ship to email and ship to phone fields, that'll get pushed with those images. And that's how we populate those lists as well. So we can send out emails to say, your pictures are ready. Here's a link and your passcode to take a look at those, and you can log in and go see those. The biggest thing I can recommend for you guys is set up a test event and sign yourself up as a lead, sign yourself up as a prospect, experience that as a parent. So that when you get a call, I'm just going to say when you get a call about a parent that's confused about something, because we all have parents that are confused about everything we do, right? That you can understand what is their experience and you can help them understand what the expectation should be and clarify what's going on there. So that would be my biggest request for you guys, is to experience that as a customer. That's going to connect so many dots for you guys and how the system works and how it operates. Questions about that before we move on? Everyone okay? We seem a little glazed over here. We all right? Good. Thumbs up from Julie. All right. Daniel, what's up, man?
Quick question. I learned the whole raise your hand thing. I didn't want to just butt in. I know you had talked about having multiple campaigns that you can set up for different events. Is that something, I know you guys are working on that. Do you have kind of a timeline on that yet? Or?
Yeah, so what Daniel's talking about is when we created the system, we created it so that there is a campaign for your prospects, leads, and buyers for that one event type, being it prepay, proof, or event. A feature that Daniel just spilled the beans on, and I'm glad you did, it's all right, man, is that we're going to create a library so that you can start creating your own custom campaigns, so that you can choose which campaign you want to use for your prepay leads and your second sale buyers. So that if you've got a senior shoot and you want to market it differently than a preschool shoot, that you want to mark differently than the volleyball team shoot, you can start doing that if you want to start building out those different campaigns. And want to be a super marketing guru, rock on, and we want to add that feature for you. So that's one of the things that we're working on right now for you. One of the other feedbacks we got with this prepay campaign is the URL that gets texted out is a bit long, and it really is. It's really long. It's bad. So one of the things we're actually going to roll out, fingers crossed, I'll find out tomorrow, but I'm going to say in the next couple of weeks, is we're going to have short URLs for all those so that we can keep those links nice and short and concise. And the benefit with that is it will help with our metrics to make sure we're showing you how well these conversions and engagements are going with all these different campaigns. So I don't have a tentative date for you yet. If you ask me that question on Wednesday, I probably could. So stay tuned, and I'll be sure to update you as soon as I can. All right, man.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Good question. So, yeah, we've been chatting for a minute here. Let's talk about this for a little bit. I first off want to fire off onto Gidget's question. I want to make sure we answer that one right away. Is how many of you, quick poll, how many of you are already photographing or have already photographed a school or a league so far? All right, I love that.
Yeah,
Love seeing those hands. So, how are you? Have you had to photograph folks that are not attending school, that have chosen to stay online? Anyone done that so far? Brent, awesome. Brent, will you unmute yourself? Share with the group here, how are you handling those students that are not learning on campus but still need to be photographed for the yearbook and the admin programs and those other things?
Right. So with that, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So with one of our schools particularly, we photographed the day they have a day where kids can come into the school, get their schedules. It's before school started. And we actually set up 2 backgrounds that day to take walk-ins before the school year, which we can't go back in time for everybody else. But this is a huge time commitment all of a sudden this year. We're setting up backgrounds a lot of times now, which is just different from the way it was, in the before times. That said, that was helpful. This Saturday, we had school picture day, let's say for high school, middle school that we just did. We just shot them on Thursday. We scheduled to have on Saturday remote learners come in to the same school building so that they could come in when there weren't other students there. And I'm going to be honest, we have about 150 of those, and it was a bust. We had 12 people show up because we didn't schedule them ahead. So we sat there for 2 hours waiting for people to come in. We had 12 people show up. So we learned 2 things from that. One, 3 things. For them, when scheduling, we didn't consider remote learners. I'm going to be honest about that. We scheduled picture day, and we didn't think to consider a remote learners picture day. For the elementary school that we're doing in 2 weeks, that's part of the same district, we have now decided we're scheduling that. We have picture day on Wednesday, and then Wednesday evening from 6 to 8, we're going to stay at the school that day. So we're only setting up one time. We're going to leave. We're going to come back in the evening to deal with remote learners in the evening of the same day. We're going to be able to present that a little sooner. The problem we've had with several schools is they're trying to make up the schedule on the fly. So picture day is getting 3-day notice. We're going to do this for this, or 2 days. And they're good about sending text messages on our behalf, but that doesn't mean it works to schedule for families. So I think one solution we have come up with, we still have a physical studio space. We are going to start marketing school picture day for remote learners at our studio, so people can come in. We have an extra camera room. We're blessed. We have an extra camera room. We can just set it up and leave it set so that it's always the same. From a marketing aspect, we are going to market that to not just the schools we work with, but to every school we can find, because there are remote learners everywhere that are not being taken care of for school picture day. So that is going to be our camel's nose in the tent to try and get into other districts next year by servicing their remote learners well this year. So that was a lot. Did that make sense?
Yeah, let's see if we can summarize that, because that was all fantastic information. So you had a separate time for the virtual learners.
Correct.
And one of the lessons that you would do differently is, instead of just having an open time, you would have signups for
Correct.
specific times to control that schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. And then you're also utilizing alternative spaces to
Correct.
host that instead of on the campus. So if the school's not allowing you to meet there, you're going to meet at the studio. And I love that last part that you slid in there. That I want to emphasize that you are using that to mark as a market lead here for the schools that you don't have. So not just servicing the schools you have, but using that as a way to engage schools you don't have.
Right. Well, and not just schools we don't have, but we've had an explosion, as I'm sure you all have, of people choosing not to be remote learners for a school district, but simply becoming homeschoolers. And if they're homeschoolers, they don't have any access to picture day. And this is something we have done as a promotional piece for the last several years is, come get good pictures from us, not the crap from Lifetouch. I'm sorry, from the national company. I'm sorry, I'll edit that later. And that's had a good response, but this is an opportunity to really turn it into school picture day. So we think I will be happy to update you on how that's going and, share our marketing materials or anything if you'd like to see that. But
yeah, please share that in the users group if you're interested and willing to do that. That'd be awesome.
Sure.
Joel said in the chat that he's doing something similar, that they have a time at 8 a.m. before the other students get to photograph, that they're meeting in the gym and using distancing protocols in order to photograph those virtual learners. And then Stephanie is saying that she's using a sign-up genius to create sign-up times to engage those folks on picture day as well. So sounds like controlling the schedule and getting there early or staying later for those virtual learners is how a lot of folks are accomplishing that now. But I would still love to hear how that continues to pan out for you all. If you haven't had that opportunity, please share that in the users group so that we can see how that's working for you, because there's a lot of folks that are still trying to crack that nut, that they want to make sure that what they're doing is right, and to see how other folks are doing it is very affirming, or can be a great learning opportunity for some of those folks. So please continue to share that. And thanks for doing that. Gidget, what's up?
So I know I was discussing with you when we first signed on. So I start next week for photos. Our schools are 2 days for A through K, and then L through Z is the end of the week, 2 days. So my plan is, and I don't know if anybody else is doing this, I'll do 1 day for the first set, A through K, and then Thursday I'll do the last part of the alphabet, and then Wednesday is supposed to be clean day at the school. So that was the day I was going to see if the remote kids come in that day. So that's my plan. I don't know if anybody else was doing that, if it was working, and I'm there for like 4 or 5 hours, and I don't want to sit there for 12 kids, so I didn't know if anybody else was doing anything like that also. But that's
we're hearing two things on that. First, it talked about a sign-up genius acuity scheduling. We're hearing a lot of people using, where you can assign a certain number of sessions per 15-minute block so that parents can actually sign up. We're hearing good success with that, so you know when to schedule people. And then you can also, with that, you can schedule a fewer number of hours, and then if that starts to fill up, you can add hours. So people aren't spreading out over a 4-hour time period. You can open up 2, and if that gets full, then you open up a 3rd or a 4th. The second piece, but to do that, you've got to have some communication with the parents. The second thing, you may find that the school may be reticent to let you in the school during cleaning day. If they will, that's great. But something else we're hearing is a lot of schools are opening up either the overhang at the entrance to the school, or a pavilion, or the equipment shed, where they just pull the tractors out, sweep the floor, and you have picture day in the equipment building. So where you have some of those facilities, we're hearing a lot of drive-up picture days happening in equipment sheds, and you just have to have some signage. So then those can count as actually outdoor spaces. But they're under an overhang, and then you can control the light a little better that way. And then other people are actually setting up their sports tents, what they use for sports pictures, and they're doing school picture day inside of a sports tent with a green screen background or a regular fall background.
Does that help, Gidget?
Yeah, so the high schoolers are letting me come in Wednesday. But I do like the drive up part. I do like that, because we're not sure how the parents are going. I mean, we have the day set up, but we're not sure how the parents are going to accept it if they don't want their students in school. Why should they come in on picture day? So we're not sure how they're going to handle that situation. My elementary principal wants me to set up times at my studio. She doesn't even want to deal with kids coming in.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I think that one of the best things that I've seen is folks that have made just a short little video with their iPhone that says, "Hey parents, here's how we're handling picture day," and you try to make it as short as you can. Some of the pitfalls to avoid is, I would say that to make it a good video is make yourself an outline first of what you want to cover, so you don't have to repeat points. So you can make that video as short as possible, but you want to show a confidence that you're aware of how to have a picture day that's contactless, that has social distancing, that has cleaning procedures, all of those things. The first time I saw that was actually my eye doctor, and she did just a fantastic job. I had an appointment later in the week, and this is back in June or May or June, and I thought, should I keep my appointment? Should I not? Like, what's going on? And she sent this fantastic little video, said, "Here's how it's going to work." And I was like, and I was thinking of canceling my appointment because I just didn't know. And she sent me this video. I'm like, hey, I'm going to my appointment. That's great. They've thought it through. So something little, you can put it on YouTube, then link it inside of your picture day notice. Go a long way toward instilling confidence in those parents.
Yeah. And it can be a minute or less, or 2 minutes or less. It doesn't have to be a 10-minute PowerPoint presentation. Just talking head like this would be fine. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. So also just want to take a minute and just kind of poll. So again, raise of hands, who's already been photographing this fall or summer? All right. I would love to just have 5 minutes here and just open up. How is that going for you? What are you seeing with participation and with buy rates, and what kind of trends are you starting to notice in the early part of the season so far? Julie, go ahead.
Yeah, I can jump in here. We've done 6 schools so far, and everything's gone amazingly well, besides, being a little bit more careful with lines. We actually did a new setup on Friday where we did our backdrops in the gym back to back. And so then, like the cameras were this way and the backdrops were back to back. And that was actually kind of nice to utilize the whole gym. And before we had kind of done them sideways, but that was actually a nice setup just for a lot of reasons. So we might even use that even after COVID, just because then you're not distracted by seeing the other person out of your peripheral vision and everything. So our participation rate has been probably better this year than other years. And people have still been sending tons of cash. And I think a lot of the things that we were worried about were not an issue. We have, starting next week, our district here has about 650 virtual kids. And so we're going to be setting up kind of at a district type office with an overhang garage door. And we're going to be doing 4 evenings and kind of splitting up the alphabet. So they're going to be pushing it out. And I guess we're not having people sign up. So we'll see how the participation does. But I mean, they really want these kids to have their picture taken. So but this was our way to get into the district. We've talked to there's 2 districts in town, and we do one, and the other one's letting each school pick. So we've been on this district for a while, and this was kind of our foot in the door, again, to talk to the district about the benefit of having all your stuff, from one photographer, and just the admin and everything. So I think this will be a good foot in the door again with the district as a whole, rather than we did one of the schools this year, but I think it's just been a huge benefit to just have someone to deal with, and I think it's going to benefit us in the long run. So
nice.
Good job.
Yeah.
Nice. Daniel, I know you're a sports guy, so I'm going to ask you, what's going on with the teams? How is team and individual photography going? Hang on, unmute yourself, buddy.
I should do that. Everything is like very last minute. Like literally, I got a call on Monday from the high school. Hey, can you come shoot on Wednesday? Okay. And then I messaged another team on, I think it was last week. I messaged them on Monday. It was volleyball, and they were like, just kind of like, hey, I'd love to offer my services if you want, looking for a photographer. A day later, they're like, yeah, can you come on Thursday? Okay. And then while I was there, I booked the football team. And he was like, hey, how about next Wednesday? Okay. So everything is just kind of like, no one really knows what their season's going to look like. So they're waiting till the last minute. And of course, with that, like I said before, getting contact information is hard. So it's trying to get the coaches to give me information, get the kids to give me information. For football, I did 3 teams, the freshman, the varsity, and the junior varsity. I think about 140 kids altogether in the one day, and I got 48 orders out of that. So I know everyone says, seniors and high school, they don't have a big participation rate as it is. So, but I think my average order was right around $50. So that's not, but yeah, everything is just so
bad. That's great, man.
I had like that one, like I posted, I had that $190 order where the guy just like bought everything. He's like, "What do you got?" And just he bought like one of everything. Like, oh, hey.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but yeah, just talking to people, and everyone's like, "Oh, well, we're gonna wait and see if we're gonna have a season." Then they finally have a season. They're like, "Oh, can you come on Wednesday?" It's like, "Well, it's Monday, sure." I'm not gonna turn it down.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So, let's just open this up. Sports, schools, otherwise, what are you seeing as far as participation goes? What are you seeing as far as your sales averages doing? Give me a little feedback here. Tell me what you're seeing at this point.
Something that we've noticed, if I can throw this out, is we did change a lot this year. We didn't do our traditional printed envelope form because trying to keep it contactless, trying to push people online, also not knowing when the start date for school was, not knowing when picture day was going to be, there was no way to preprint some of that information. So we did a very hard push to funnel everybody into HH Image Host for our middle school and high school customers. Our grade schools we're holding till later in the year so we can print envelopes and send those the traditional method. And I have to say, I've been very happy with how Image Host has supported us in that. It has really been great being able to see people logging in. Something that we did, because everything's up in the air for our school accounts, we've created a custom page for all of them on our websites. That's an information repository that has been very helpful. So one of our districts, and if anybody wants to see it, I'll post a link if you want me to, where they can go, they can download a PDF of our order form, and we resize our order form to fit a letter sheet so people can print it at home instead of an envelope form. So it's not ridiculously small. There's a link where they click and they go to HH Image Host and they order everything right there. There's a link that talks about when picture day are. It goes over what our cleaning procedures are, what our, our entire methodology. And David's idea about a little video is great, and that's going to be up on that site in the next 3 days because that's a great way to do that too. But that way, anytime they have a question, we say go to yourschoolname.silvart.com, and they have all of the information they need for their entire school or their entire district right there. And then you've answered a lot of the questions, and it makes people's lives a little easier.
Nice.
So,
another place you could use that is the Image Host organizations page. It would be another good way to host that information. Very cool.
Good job.
Gidget, what's up?
Yes. So going back to the cleaning system you said that you had, in the past years, I've always brought a stool for students to sit down in. This year, I decided probably no stool. My only issue I'm having is sometimes there's like really tall students and then short. What is everybody doing like with the cleaning kind of? Are you washing things down constantly, not using a stool?
Julie.
Okay. I was just going to say, we've always had our kids stand, so we did that again this year. But I did find this year, well, part of it was because we had some tripod issues, but part of it was also because we can't touch the kids anyway, we're able to leave the camera on the tripod, and then let's say, especially like a 7th, 8th grade, I mean, it can range. So then if a big 8th grader, rather than doing the tripod and everything, even just holding it, taking that picture and putting it back, I think that saved a lot of time. Or even taking it off, and if you feel comfortable just holding it and doing that, I mean, we had the tripods there, but usually we're doing some adjusting, so the tripod's really helpful. But this year, since we had to stay put anyway, not using a tripod actually went a lot faster. I mean, then you obviously have to stay straight, but it was a lot easier to do all the different heights. So just keep that in mind that it worked for us this year.
Glad that worked out for you.
To that end, I was going to say something we did is we just chose to shoot a little looser too, for dealing with height variations. Now, we were dealing with tripods. Something we've also discovered for those that haven't started shooting yet, kids taking masks off and putting masks on is adding a huge amount of time to the pushing them through the line. It's now that said, my schools seem to be trying to social distance, but at the same time, they called down a whole class of people at the same time. Not a grade, I mean a grade at a time. Say, okay, all the 8th graders now come down. So we shot the whole school in 2.5 hours. So it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it's doubling our in front of camera time with kids taking their mask off, forgetting they haven't taken their mask off. One of the things when they come up to the stations, we have a table there for them to set your mask here, set everything else here, get your photo done, pick it up, and then go out the other direction. But give them a place to put those things, because otherwise they're not going to know what to do.
Yeah, something else that we added this August was magic crop. So we're seeing with all the different, with not having a stool, with cameras coming off tripods, with maybe needing some fill-in photographers that are coming in that you haven't had before because someone needs to rotate out on quarantine. Magic crop, a number of people have reported that's really saved them, because they could just instruct their photographers to shoot a little looser, and magic crop will pull that back in. So I'll post a link here if you haven't seen that yet. Then you might want to check that out. Oh, okay.
Oh, you beat me to it. Dang it.
Yep.
But yeah, no, we've had folks that early adopters on magic crop that said they used to spend, I don't know, 45 minutes cropping, and they're now spending like 10 minutes cropping. I think that's a big time saver. So I'm wondering how loose they're shooting. But in the tests that we've run, folks are able to cut their cropping time in half from what they're used to experiencing. And the big key to that is to shoot a little bit looser. Probably this is geared for, I would say, half length or tighter is going to be a better situation. But having those looser shots has been a really fantastic way to use magic crop to save you tons of time.
Yeah, some of the other comments we're seeing is bringing a stool for just the tall kids, so keeping the stool on the side, and then pulling it in if you have a super tall kid that you can't get the right angle for.
We just have a couple more minutes here. What other questions do you guys have? All right, we're quiet. We've answered every single one of your questions.
I got
amazing.
A quick though.
There it is. I knew it.
One last question. So for your Apex Pro or your TKO stuff, are you guys going to think about doing the virtual team thing, or is that kind of something you're not really?
No, that was something that we had on the development plate before COVID. And now it's kind of turned up the timetable on that. But yeah, it's an inevitability. It's an inevitability that we're going to have to crack that nut somehow. But I tell you, I'm hearing great things from Damon over at Pixnub, and from Ty Fisher over at Rubuku at using those. Folks are using those services, and they're able to deliver a virtual team or a composited team, however you're describing that. And I seem to be pretty happy with those services. So
yeah, we'll tell you with both those guys. I know both of them personally. They're my friends, and I can tell you they're both busting their butts. You can imagine. I mean, in a way, they're happy because all this is coming to them, but they just got dumped on in a big way. So talk to them early about what their real lead times are. They'll be honest with you and support, and what, how long to plan on for if you're using Pixnub, how long to train and get some practice before you do it. There's a shocking number of people that are just kind of kicked into the deep end of the pool on this, and they show up and coach says, we can't do a team picture. We have to do individuals. And they're like, okay. And then they take the individuals and they have to go home and figure it out. So it's worth, I hate to say it, it's worth spending a Saturday morning taking some of those individuals and practicing, whether it's through Rabuku or through Pixnub, just so you have that tool in the toolbox and you can play poker a little bit when coach changes the game on you, and not have the freak out look. But it's worth practicing that a little bit before you get in an actual situation. And those guys will give you everything they've got to help you. Just know that they're getting hammered from all sides right now.
I know I've been using, I just started using NextGen with Wes Kroninger, and the coach that I did the football pictures for at the local high school, he was super impressed with that whole, the whole setup, because he can have his coaches come in and out as they were available. I was like, I don't need the coaches. He's like, well, we can all line up for this team picture. I'm like, I don't need a team picture. He never saw the virtual stuff before. He was just blown away that I was able to get all of his varsity players done like 20 minutes before the end of the period, so they weren't all scrambling to try and get dressed and stuff. And it was real easy to set up. And so I'm going through him for all my extraction stuff and everything like that right now.
Yeah, so Wes does a nice job with that. It does take a little practice up ahead and some special equipment. And you'll want to keep an eye on your pricing to make sure that your pricing is adjusted for these higher end products that NextGen is giving you. But he does a great job.
Oh yeah, they look awesome.
Stuff is really nice.
Yeah. The other thing that we're finding is you can change up the conversation a little bit, because initially you may hear that, hey, we can't do a group picture. And there's a number of folks that are saying, hey, how are you? Tell me about how you're doing practices and games. And then the coach will tell them, well, we're practicing normally, or we're doing games normally. And then it's kind of changing the conversation and saying, you know what, let's make sure we have picture day at least that's safe. What does that look like? And then the coach comes back and goes, well, I guess we can do a group picture because we're together in practice anyway. And so it allows you to make the journey a little bit with the coach to think that through. But let's be honest, there's a public relations part of this whole thing. And there's many, many conversations. I'm sure we're all losing our minds and just seeing examples of things that just don't make sense. That, you can't have a team picture, but they're all in a dog pile after practice together, wrestling around on the floor. And you're like, okay. But if the coach is on board and you've communicated your safety procedures and you're operating in your brand for your conscience, you won't regret whatever you do. And I think that's the key. Even if it doesn't make sense for how they're operating, you just got to let that stuff go right now and just work it out with the coach.
Hey, David, can you give your 30-second version on your chain of command conversation for team photos? You had that with one of our customers a few weeks ago, and I loved how you said it. I think this group could benefit from that.
Well, I'm notorious for saying things really well the first time and then not remembering how I said it. So I'll take a whack at it. I think I'm trying to remember the context of it, but what it comes down to is if you're able to engage the coaches and the athletic directors early enough to have the conversation and learn what their current safety procedures are and say, okay, how are you handling practices? How are you handling masks? What do you consider an exposure? A number of the schools, exposure by the CDC is less than 6 feet without a mask for more than 15 minutes. Well, I don't know about you guys, but it didn't take me 15 minutes to take a team picture. So that's not an exposure by the CDC rules, but it doesn't mean your county or your school doesn't consider that an exposure. So you just have to be very humble and patient as you listen to those folks and then say, okay, so coach, what I hear you telling me how we're working up picture days, we need to operate in this way. And then you read back whatever you've decided together. And it's important. There's two philosophies. One is that you are the professional photographer, you own the business, so you need to own the safety of picture day. That's one philosophy. Another is if you have a strong athletic director or coach that they want things done a certain way, that you're serving their safety procedures. Either is legit. You have to look at your current situation. But if it is the coach or the athletic director that insists it's done a certain way, then you can say, hey, coach, we're going to do it this way. Rock on. We got your back. And how would you like me to handle any parents that have questions about how we're holding picture day? Would you like me to read this back, or would you like me to just send them to you so you can explain it? I'm good either way, but just how would you like me to handle it? So there's the chain of command of where does the buck stop? when it comes to the safety procedures. But I think the important part in all of this is you showing leadership for your own business. Get educated, get confident, get down what you think the rules are. And then, but at the end of the day, the organization you're working with is going to have some strong opinions about how they operate. So I'm going to be like, you know what, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I don't understand why we're even worried about this. And others are going to be like, look, those kids have got to be 6 feet apart and masked until they slip it off picture and put that mask back on. In any case, yep, we can do it. We got you. And there's the systems to support them.
Excellent. I think the first one was better, but that one was still good. Still good.
Does not surprise me. Sorry, guys.
Awesome. Well, we are over time, but any last questions before we shut this one down? All right. Well, we are going to do this again next month. There will be an October edition, so look for it. We're probably going to do the first Monday of the month in October. So look for that invite via email and through the HH Schools users group. We try to stay engaged there. So thank you all. Thank you for taking time out of your busy days and busy weeks to spend time with us, helping us understand what's going on in the world, helping you understand what's going on here at the lab, and just helping us all promote and stay effective out there. So thank you guys. Stay safe. Call us and let us know how we can help you guys. Otherwise, have a great day. Have a great September. And let's go get them, guys. Talk to you later.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.